Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? Where we'll be talking about, I don't know what we'll be talking about, mainly the thing on my mind right now is I'm trying to write a story, I suppose, because tomorrow I have my writing group with my friends, and this is one where I have written like literally nothing. I've written like no notes or anything, which is probably a first when it's come to a story, because I've just had no ideas for this one whatsoever. Which, happens, obviously, because it was always going to be peaks and troughs, I suppose, of artistic inspiration. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow at 6:10 p.m. on Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. I guess I'll talk about this for a little bit until we actually move on to our actual, whatever our conversation topic is going to be. But the prompts for this week, not this week, it's kind of like a monthly, month and a halfly thing, are vengeance, sacrifice, and immortality, which are very sort of broad stroke concepts, I suppose, rather than being material object, which generally I do like more, to be honest, on prompts than just like a physical material thing, because oftentimes the physical material things, the way I tend to incorporate them into my prompt is not as necessarily as a central part of the story, but more along the lines of using it as themed imagery. I don't even see here. Oh yeah, we're also using a Joy-Con drifty Joy-Cons today, while the other ones are charging. But it's just like I've kind of like, I'm not like run out of ideas, that's like insane, but it's like there's no ideas I'm particularly like fond of writing about, because normally I tend to write, I would describe it as melodramatic sort of pieces. I'd say they're very sort of like emotionally charged or like sad, and they're not all sad, but there's often a sense of melancholy, I think, pervading quite a few of my earlier ones especially. And then now I've started like to branch out from, oh gosh, what was that? I started to branch out from that to make it a bit more interesting, a bit more varied, to whet my appetite in something else. But now this is a prompt which is sort of basically being like, oh, this feels like it should be super dramatic or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know if I've got anything really like to say about it. I have an idea, I will say, but it's much more on a comedic scale, which I suppose is sort of subverting the expectations of this prompt in the first place. But yeah, I don't know. Whether I can write something comedic or not is yet to be seen. But maybe I'll give it a go. I've only got an evening or so to write it, so it's not, I don't think it's going to be my best work necessarily, but it'll probably be okay, I would say. But yeah, what are we going to talk about today? You might be like, are you going to play some Baldur's Gate today? Unfortunately, one of my friends is ill today, so we're just like skipping this session, because the well-being, I suppose, of people's well-being, I think, is generally more important than game night, believe it or not. That might not be a true gamer thing to say, but still. A sip of water. Of course, stay hydrated, y'all. Don't know why I said y'all. It's weird because I don't know if you ever really think about how differently you might speak compared to how you type, or type or write in general. I tend to say y'all quite a lot, I think, whenever I'm typing, because I don't really think I have like much of a justification for it. I just sort of do. But I very rarely, I think, say y'all like when I'm actually like speaking or anything. I suppose it's not really in my lexicon. No, dialectic accent. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I mean, right? I mean, y'all is very much associated, well, at least for me personally, is associated with the south of the USA. Yeah, and sorry, I thought it was going to be more to it. I was trying to think if there's anywhere else I associate y'all with, but not that I can really think of. But that's what I associate it with, and obviously I'm not from USA. I'm from UK, so it's not particularly common, I suppose, phrasing. But I don't know why I use it so much when typing. I don't know. It just sort of sounds like if I type out, I think it's because maybe the way I type is very, very formal. So typing to my friends, I mean, it's not like an official email or something. I'd be like y'all or something like that. But when I'm typing with my friends, maybe it's sort of subconsciously being like, I shouldn't try and make it sound a little less formal, to varying degrees of success. I'm not trying to like completely ignore my typing voice or anything, but it's sort of like typing y'all sounds a bit more casual than saying you all should X, Y, Z or whatever, But of course, when I'm speaking, well, I mean, I speak quite formally as well, to be honest. So I don't know. I guess it's easier to get across a sense of casuality, separate from causality, and casualty. when speaking, because you have your intonation of your voice, your tone, your mannerisms, etc., which don't always get conveyed with text. So I don't know. I mean, it could just be a caveat of, you know, me typing quite formally, or maybe not. I'm trying to think of other things I type, which I mean, one thing I do know I type, which I very rarely, well, I don't say that much, is like goodness, things like that, like oh my goodness. I don't say oh my goodness too much. I say it like here and there. Normally I think I say things like my word or well. I'm trying to think like what my general sort of like expression of surprise be. In fact, you might know better than I will, because from my Let's Plays and what have you. But I think my word is probably something that I say reasonably often. Like someone like, oh my word, you know, I can hear it in my own voice. Probably because I just said it in my own voice, I guess, which, you know, kind of resonance of skull, and you'd be like, oh, you know, because of the resonance of your skull, your voice doesn't sound exactly how it sounds like to other people, so really you're not hearing it in your own voice. So in which case I'd be like, that's a trivial technicality, which I wasn't really getting towards with the heart of my point. It sort of seems like a sideways point about, well, yes, true, it is adjacent to really what I was talking about. I like doing that, just like having a long rambling thought process, I suppose, in the middle of conversation. No, it's not meant to be particularly easy to follow or anything like that, but anyway, yeah, I feel like I say my word, but I like typing my goodness or oh my goodness and things like that. That's more of a self-aware thing, I think, because I just like how it sounds, you know, typed. I guess it's so like it feels so old-timey. It kind of feels like someone going like blimey, which obviously people do say blimey, but if I hear blimey, I suppose, at least from the area that I'm grown up in, it sounds very old-timey. It's something like I would only associate with like grandparents maybe saying, well, like, court blimey is like, what are you, like a Enid Blyton novel? Which, you know, as far as authors go, Enid Blyton, probably not a bad author to be in a novel of. What, she's got like Famous Five, which, you know, that's pretty cool. But that's just like, you know, kids having their own like adventures, right? And does she write Secret Seven? I've never read Secret Seven, so I've legit got no clue what it's even about. But I assume it's probably more of the same thing. Yeah, because I mean, you could be like, blimey, I could have been like, oh, what are you, like a character from Unman, Wuthering and Zygo, which would be significantly worse for you, depending on who you are. But, you know, I think everyone's basically just having a terrible time in that book. Or theatre play? I don't know. The strangest thing is I remember we covered that in school. We read it in school. Which I don't know if maybe that's like a subtle thing, the teachers just being like, this is what you are, you're animals, you... Obviously not, but... or maybe I just remember Unman, Wuthering and Zygo pretty poorly. Very possible. I forgot what I was going to say. I should talk about that sometime. Try and tell what I think the story is for that. I actually just like completely forgot until that moment that I actually studied right back in English. Studied, loosely. Pre-GCSE time. I think at least. Yeah, it must have been pre-GCSE. What was I saying? My goodness, yeah. So, you know, y'all, my goodness. What else do I say? Typed, but not spoken, or spoken, but not typed. I don't know. I feel like, certainly, I think it's quite like a key thing which I like doing, because I like to just use adjectives as like responses to things. So like for a really long time, I think my go-to word was wild. So whenever something happened which was like crazy or something, instead of, I guess it's kind of the same way that, you know, like servers or like how slang evolves over the age, where you'd be like, oh, lit or something, or, you know, like server lingo or 60s lingo might be like gnarly or things like that. My sort of go-to word was very much wild for now. And do we not pick up a recipe? I didn't even see a recipe. Yeah, I very much go for wild. And you got to put that vocal growl in, because that's part of a wildness, I suppose. Of a wilderness. But now I'm sort of like shifting over slightly to going like groovy. Because, but that's one which more pervades my written words rather than my spoken words. Because I don't know, saying groovy feels very different energy from writing groovy. Writing groovy is like, whoa, look at this cool dude, you know? Not literally, but it gives that sort of like atmosphere. But saying it just feels like, whoa, what are you, stuck in the 80s? 70s? Or what was the hippie era? 70s? I think. I don't know, I wasn't alive then. So I like doing stuff like that. I mean, I say lovely quite a lot, but, you know, that's something I say both written and spoken. I go, lovely. quite a lot. I mean, you can just imagine doing a little squeaking here and there. Or fantastic. I like saying that one. Or wonderful, wunderbar. What else do I say? I go nice. I'm trying to think of just like what my like key phrases. I feel like this is probably genuinely a lot easier if you actually watch my videos and if you are me, which is weird to say because you would have thought I would know better, but it's sort of like the way I portray myself. I'm sure through my unconscious dialogue I have in these Let's Plays, I revert back to things which are like comfort phrases for me, which I sort of unwittingly say. And I know I say or something like that quite a lot. That's another thing I say. I'll just say some strange metaphor and I'll be like, oh, something like that. You know, just to, it sort of covers your tracks, being like, you didn't follow what I meant. Just like sort of, it's like get the vibes of what I'm saying. You don't need to, don't read into the details of what I'm saying all too much. Don't, you know, psychoanalyze. Well, psychoanalyze is not really the right word, but don't, you know, analyze the exact words I'm saying. Oh yeah, I also wanted to check. Apparently, you know, my friend messaged me being like, whoa, you have a shiny Diglett on Pokemon Sleep, and I was like, I do. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh yeah, it does have a blue nose. And I never really thought about it. But at the time I thought it was just, oh, maybe Pokemon Sleep's just got like colour variations. Technically does, I suppose, by it being a shiny. But yeah, apparently I have a shiny. I don't even remember what Pokemon I caught this morning. I think it was like an Igglybuff or something. Did I name it? I should name it if I've not. Pokemon. It's more like a collection simulator, I suppose, for me right now. Pokemon. I named it Marshmallow. Is this another shiny? Since when are Igglybuffs this bright? That can't be right. All of my Pokemon have no stamina. I don't think that's right. Can I switch around people? There's a help me pick option. Help me pick. I don't know what this means. Skillful helping. Sure, there you go. Okay, so it turns out, you know, I remember there's an energy mechanic on Pokemon Sleep or whatever, whereas basically the more you, the better your sleep is or something, the more energy is restored to your Pokemon, which is, you know, kind of bad for me because, as I say, I don't sleep. I don't have very, I've not far below, I've below average sleeping hours, I think, compared to the average person. You know, I sleep for somewhere, I mean, I can function fine on 4 hours, I'd say. I wouldn't do it consistently because that's just kind of like exhausting for no reason, but I do fine with like 6 hours, etc, etc. And here I am saying things I wouldn't do. I was like, I'm not going to play Pokemon Sleep outside of just like using it as a sleep tracker, but you know, sometimes it's fun. It's sort of fun in the sense that, you know, those old idle mini games are fun, where it's just like, oh, you click on, you check back, and every once in a while you check back every once in a while to like click a few buttons when you sign out, basically collecting berries. I'm never going to use, mind you, but still. All right, close out of that. Anyway, yeah, I do have a shiny Diglett, it turns out. Yeah, so what was I saying, like, my word, I don't know, I just like, oh my goodness. I think now I'm starting to associate it with Chili from Bluey, because I feel like I can hear it in her voice, where she goes like, my goodness. Isn't it a thing where it's like, I can't remember which episode it was. It's the one where Bluey has like, she says she's a mother to like a load of balloons. She was like, I gave birth to them all. And Chili goes, oh my goodness. Something like that, right? I might be misremembering that. I don't know. I just, something about my goodness is like so quaint, I feel like, which is probably why I've taken an affinity to actually using it in my lexicon. I also feel like I feel like I speak like I'm looking at a thesaurus every so often, which I'm not. I promise you, there's no. I don't even know where my nearest thesaurus is. I guess my phone or my computer's. Now I think about it, it's probably closer than my phone, but still. Yeah, I promise you, I'm not like just like rapidly checking thesauruses, thesauri. I don't know what plural is. To find like interesting words or whatever to say. I'm just speaking my mind, you know. And if that's wrong, then I don't want to be right, you know. What else do I say? This might be something I should ask my friends, but even then, I feel like it's hard to know exactly what your friends say all that often because you're so accustomed to hearing it. it's back to that thing where it's like it's difficult to pluck out information from nowhere, but if you get information, verifying it is easy. You know, P equals NP, I suppose, except for the brain. Where it's just like, oh, you know, do you ask me, is like, does your friend say this particularly often? I'll be like, yeah. And or you'll be like, do they say this particularly often? I'll be like, no. It's a lot easier that way around. So I'm just trying to think what I say. I don't know what my key phrase would be. I do like I still like my goodness though. Amusingly, you might find as darling isn't really part of my lexicon. Like, I don't use it all that often. Mainly because I think my friends would find it probably very patronizing. Or, like, I mean, sometimes I'll say it, like, more, like, comedically or ironically. I'll be like, hello, my darlings. Something like that. Hello, darlings. If anything, part of me in some sort of, like, cruel comedic... I'm not sure cruel is really the right word. It's not like my friends are going, like, my, I don't know, heart or something hurts whenever you say that. Part of me in some sort of Schadenfreude-esque sense wants to start saying it more often. Just to sort of see how my friends react, you know? I think it's very much a sort of... What's a word? What is a word? I was going to say tenor. That's not a word. What's a word for like a moral... Not a moral code, but like a code that you abide by? But it's often used for like, you know, like rogues and assassins and that sort of thing. I can't remember what word it is. Yeah, I really can't think of it. Hold on. This is where we go to Google. Synonym for tenant? Not axiom, not tenant. Sorry, tenet. Doctrine. Oh, creed. There we go. Creed. That's the one I wanted. To just sort of say things which, you know, are kind of funny, and then you sort of like ironically adopt them. I mean, this always happens to one of my friends, where he always starts saying things like ironically, and then it becomes an unironic part of what he does / says, which, you know, can't really blame him, I suppose, in the end. So maybe I will just start saying darlings all the time. I don't know if it particularly fit. Well, okay. Thinking about it throughout my friends, it probably fits me one of the best, I would say. And I am dear darling after all. So, you know, it feels like it's sort of like going full circle, if anything. I do like saying dearlings, I suppose, for like people who watch Dear Darling. Like Dear Darling fans. Not that I have, you know, like a huge number or anything, but dearlings just work so well. It's a shame that it's already a Pokemon, so I don't know if it's trademarked. Not that I'm planning to trademark it, it's more like a fan unofficial name, isn't it? So I don't know, maybe I should start saying darlings more often. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this episode up here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. I should just say socials down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now, darlings. I don't know if I like that sort of like the rhythm to that. I don't know, I'll work on it.